Why does the medical system often tell people to stop moving when movement is the only thing that actually could save them and fix the problem? And what happens to a human body when the doctor says stop with the sports and they still keep on doing them? And what is the coach actually for when everything the textbook says that you should be able to do has been taken away from you and you're not allowed to do it anymore? These are 3 questions that I'm going to try to answer in today's short podcast, and it's not from specifically any science textbook, but it's from my own experience from the last decade of training people and helping people with their health and fitness. And with that, I also want to say welcome to Never Start Over Again, which is the name of this podcast. And I hope this one helps to kick off this week for you and also get you into a good mindset of the week. I release this every Monday. My name is Rickard, and I'm the owner of Escapist CrossFit. I'm also a mentor and a coach and help business owners all over the world with not only their health and fitness, even though I think it's also integrated. And I'm going to tell you in this episode a couple of stories about people being in that area of where people have told them to stop exercising, stop doing the thing that keeps them healthy, and kind of how it is to try to get a bounce back from that. If you like this podcast and episode, then come on, share this with someone, like it and subscribe. It helps me to keep the motivation up to do these episodes. And hopefully this is also helpful to anyone who is listening. I hope you can take something with you from this one. A couple of observations over the time has been this mindset from the medical community is that the human body is broken, and that has been something that I have had a bit of a hard time to put a stamp on or to put a concept around, but that is kind of the feeling that I have when it comes to medical community and let's say the health and fitness community, is that the health and fitness community believes that you can get stronger and you can improve, whereas the medical society is about everyone is broken, everyone needs to get some kind of band-aid. And I don't think it's because of anyone wants to do something bad per se. It's just that it comes from those different 2 angles of how you want to fix a problem. And a good analogy that we've been using in CrossFit for a long time is that you have the medical doctors. They are more like safety guards. When you're about to drown, they should be there helping you to survive so you don't drown. Whereas the health and fitness community is there to actually teach you how to swim so you don't have to drown. And I think a good coach is somebody who keeps you away from drowning as long as you can, even though obviously capacity might go down over the years. But I think there's something of a valid some valid truth in that. But anyways, I'm going to tell you 3 different stories that we've had in our gym, and I'm going to start with a story about Lisa, who came to Escapist for I think it's about 2 years ago, and she's a educated sports therapist. She's a yoga instructor and also very I would say she's pretty well known. She's also very sympathetic. She's very encouraging, super kind person. But she came to Escapist 2 years ago because she has had a condition with her neck and her spine, and she has not been able to do any lifting, and she was in a very, very bad situation where she had a congenital spinal defect, and that means that the channel for the spinal is a bit too narrow, and then on top of that, her lumbar spine disintegrated completely, and she couldn't walk. And she had been training with us before that happened with the lumbar spine. That was like a new condition that happened, and when that happened, though, the hospital told her to give up her job. She should stop doing her yoga teaching. She probably will have to just sit in a wheelchair and rather look into wheelchair basketball. That's what they told her. Now she took a couple of weeks off, and she worked slowly back with a physio, and then she also came back very quickly to Escapist, and we talked about like her condition and what was possible and what was not. And she started to train pretty regularly, like 3 to 4 to 5 times a week. A year later, I saw her last week doing deadlifts with, I think it was almost 50 kilos. This is a huge win for her, and capacity coming back. And I think one of the things that she said that I've heard also from other people, and what I've experienced, is that with injury, it's not only the problem with how the body feels, but it's the healing also of your mind, meaning you go through something traumatic, and the body might heal, but you're kind of scared of that moving again, and that is usually something that holds people back for a long time. And I've seen this many times when it comes to specifically back injuries, because it is not fun when your back doesn't work and you cannot move anymore and you're stiff and so on. You absolutely don't want to be back there anymore. But there is a way back, and we have a certain philosophy when it comes to that and how to build back the capacity. But to Lisa's story, she said something also pretty cool, and that was that like no doctor can really heal themselves, and also no trainer should train themselves. That's why she looked to work with a coach, and so she could actually bounce back as quickly as possible, because she knew if she would have been her own coach, she would have not progressed as quickly as possible. Another story that we had was I remember she had a car accident, and I think on top of that also like a biking accident, and to that she hurt her neck, she hurt her shoulder, and she was literally not able to do almost anything in her training, and that was really tough. And it looked like strength training and so on would not be on her map. But she had a small conversation with us, and we looked into, okay, how can we accommodate this in the training? And we used our philosophy of like, so what can you do? Like, instead of focusing the things that you cannot do, what can we do? And we started to work on that. So she couldn't do so much with her arms, and that was maybe a short-term pain in that sense of like not having the capacity. But we started then to slowly integrate some arm movements back and so on. And on top of that, to also see that we're doing progress, we did an InBody scan at the beginning, and then 3 months later we did another one, so we could see if she was losing muscle mass or if she was keeping it. And we figured out after 3 months that she was actually not only keeping the muscle mass, but she also was able to add some muscle mass into her lower body and her core. So that was a huge win. And like just the other week now, she was able to press overhead again with light weights, which is perfectly okay because it's progressive and we're slowly getting back. Even though, like, from a medical point of view, they said you have you have no cartilage left, basically, so you would not be able to do this again. But this is the interesting part with the human body, is that if you start to add small stress, not too much, but appropriately, the body starts to sometimes rebuild itself, and it gives you more and new opportunities. It doesn't always work, but if you have good nutrition, if you sleep well, if you have the right amount of stress, the body wants to adapt to mitigate that stress, and that is how training works. We try to add stress, and then by adding the stress, the body adapts to that. It's not a very crazy argument and nothing new, but many people never think about it in that way, so I thought it might be helpful to hear that. And we have another member too who got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and that person has only one lung, but he's back training now from last week. He started training again at Escapist. It has been a long, bumpy road, but his story is also pretty interesting because he actually accidentally stumbled and he hit his ribs, and they were hurting, and he was still training a couple of days later. It was hurting, and when I heard that, I said, like, okay, we need to send him to a doctor so he doesn't have like an injured rib or something, because sometimes like you could puncture your lungs if you have broken ribs. And so he said, okay, I'm gonna go to the doctor. He went to the doctor, and he said, and they saw like, hey, you have something worse going on there. That is actually what is hurting. So that small accident, and also to feel like his lung capacity was not there as it used to be, made him go to the doctor. The doctors could find this cancer early enough, even though this was very late, and he could then go into treatment, and his body was in a very fit condition, and that was one of the reasons why he also was able to bounce back. And the doctor said that to him many times, like, thanks to your good values, this is actually progressing better. And he bounced back, and he seemed to have very good doctors. They wanted him to keep on trying to move. And again, now we are back in movement and training, and it's going to be a nice build back and comeback story for sure. And hopefully we are going to be able to share more of that soon. One of the things that I wanted to come to is, like, sometimes you can have good doctors, sometimes you can have bad doctors, and some doctors come up with the usual explanation is like, stop training, you stop everything, you should only do yoga, or you should only do biking, or whatever it might be prescribed. And from their point of view, it is like safe, it's very safe, and I understand that, because most doctors have never really worked with coaches. They have never worked with anyone who has good coaching and training experience, and especially not like with decades of doing that. So of course they're going to say he stopped training, because from most people's view, like a trainer or someone doesn't have any good experience or like of bringing people from a bad state to a really fit state. Now, we've done this now for a decade, so we have done this repeatedly where we had people like on the really, really bad state, and we brought them back to normal, let's say, and then from normal to really fit. And one common thing that I've seen is that people that, for example, get prescribed with, or where it's harder, parts where I've seen this has been super hard for us to do. It has been when people get prescribed with statins. And statins, if you don't know, is a blood pressure medicine that everyone gets prescribed with as soon as their levels are bad, basically blood levels. My father had that too. He got prescribed statins, and the statins he's been taking for years. But then he complained to me and said like, hey, I cannot train, I cannot do anything, I become dizzy and so on. And from my experience then from doing this for many years, I said, well, are you taking any medication for your heart or so on? And he said, yes, I take these and statins. And I said, okay, well, something I've usually seen in the training and the coaching is that people that take statins, as soon as they get exhausted like in the training, or the blood pressure goes up, they get dizzy and they have to lay down and they cannot train anymore. And it's not very surprising, but it makes all sense. And my dad was like, oh, that makes total sense, and he started to measure like his heart rate and everything, and every time his heart rate went up, boom, he felt it went up, and then it just dropped. And that is like what the medicine is supposed to do. And he obviously feels dizzy. You cannot get the oxygen out to your muscles, and it becomes like this huge handbrake on your training and your fitness. And this is why I see so many people not being able to really get back to training after that. So I told my dad, like, go to your doctor and ask him what does he need to see so he can get off the medicine. He said okay. He went to the doctor, and the doctor got surprised, and he had no good answer like what he wanted to see so my dad could get off the medicine. But my dad kept on asking, and the doctor actually came. It kind of like went up like a light bulb for him, where he said, oh, that's actually, we just need to see that certain levels need to come down here, cholesterol levels and whatever, and also blood sugar levels. Then they checked his cholesterol levels and his blood sugar, and it looked good. So my dad was like, can I get off the medicine? And it's like, actually you could. So my learning from that I hope you can take with you, and maybe you can share this with also someone, is like, always ask your doctor what they need to see so you can get off the medication. A good doctor will tell you an answer, a clear, measurable answer, because that becomes our goal, to recovery. And if a doctor says, which I've heard some say like, oh, I'm never going to take off this medicine free, then I think you should ask other doctors for their opinions. I'm not a doctor, and I don't claim to be one, but I would just say that there are very few doctors that have the same experience that I have when it comes to coaching and training and fitness, and I have very little experience of treatments and so on like they do. So I'm not an expert when it comes to their job, but that's also but I've been to the doctors many times, and maybe not so many times when I think about it. In the last 10 years I haven't been to the hospital once, but or to the doctors. So I think, like, of course I have experience in that field, but not as in treatment, and from the doctors their experience is usually very limited when it comes to fitness and training, so I understand their point of view, and it would be very unresponsible to just send people into training without having enough context. But here I hope it helps with a bit of like context what we have at the gym, what we do and what we've done, and these stories, and also the experience that we built up is here for the people, so the doctors have maybe someone they can actually trust and work with in the future. For you guys that have maybe listened to this podcast for a while, you know that I also dislocated my shoulder last year, and I have to say, like Lisa is right, one of the hardest things is overcoming that fear of using your joints again if they get hurt. But I obviously, because of my own experience, I knew that it is possible to get back into training. You just don't need to rush it, but you also don't have to give up. So now for the last couple of months we've done all these challenges where it's been handstand holds, push-ups every day, hanging on the bar every day. So the shoulder is working again. It's not 100% back in its strength, but it has become much better, and that is what I want to see, progression in the right way. All right, I hope this episode was good for you, and thank you for listening. Again, if you haven't subscribed or liked this one, then do it, share with someone. If you like what we do, then feel free to, and you want to have help with your training and fitness, then reach out. We have a great team here in Berlin that can help you with your training and fitness. If you're outside of Berlin and so on, and you just like to support what we do, we have a specific community for that, and have put the link here below too. And otherwise, if you are a coach and you like what we do in coaching, we have something called the Escapist Academy that helps people become professional coaches. And people do this from they come from all kind of backgrounds, marketing, they come from medical industry, banking, and they are IT, then they want to start to have an impact and learn how Escapist does that. So if you're interested, we have the Escapist Academy. The link is also below. Okay, see you next time, and remember, never start over again. Bye-bye.